Go. Are we live now?
Let us see.
Apologies to our still curtain audience, if we are.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah. Oh, we're here. We're here. Okay.
We're live. We're ready to go.
Let's go. Welcome to the Still Curtain Pod. I apologize for the brief delay. I am a first-time host. My good friend Josh Urish is off today, and he definitely deserves that time.
Mm-hmm.
We are coming to you live from for me, Pittsburgh, post a surprising Steelers victory.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers won 27-20, made it a little closer than it had to be, but honestly, did anyone really expect the Colts to recover that onside kick? Not really. The Steelers defense performed much better than we expected. They only gave up, they technically gave up 313 yards passing, but a lot of that came in the second half in the fourth quarter, which is just garbage time.
Yeah.
So I would love for us to start primarily just by diving into what this means for Pittsburgh. Cody is very much my he's the national angle to my Pittsburgh bubble.
That's
Cody
right.
is our FanSided.com NFL analyst. He keeps me in check when I go kind of off the grid a little bit. So I felt like he'd be a great add to this podcast. So I'm gonna start here with you, Cody, because I forced you to watch the entire Steelers game. It was on your TV the whole time.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from this game? I mean, the Colts came into this Week 9 matchup red hot.
Yeah.
So, clearly they were 3.5 point favorites on the road for a reason. The Steelers are rarely underdogs at home. They had lost 2 games in a row coming into this. I wrote up an entire podcast expecting that they would lose. They did not. Why did they not? And what should Steelers fans take from this?
I mean, honestly, this is a game where I'm reevaluating what I think about the Steelers, because coming into this week, I was not optimistic for what Pittsburgh was going to do. I picked the Colts to win this week, and the issues with the Steelers have not been on the offensive side of the ball, which is not what we expected coming into the season. But Aaron Rodgers has been playing well despite the needs at wide receiver. The run game has been not necessarily effective, but setting up stuff for Rodgers and working in tandem with the passing game. But the defense had just let y'all down, man. I believe y'all were 29th in yards per or points per drive that the Steelers defense was allowing. And coming into this matchup, the Colts were not just number 1 in the league this year in points per drive, but historically good. They were second only to the 2007 Patriots, which, for those who don't remember, that's 18-0 Patriots that we're talking about there. And yeah, right. And that's how good this Colts offense has been. And the Steelers come out and force 6 turnovers, limit the offensive damage consistently throughout this game. Held Jonathan Taylor in check. He averaged just over 3 yards per carry. This was the Steelers defense that I think we expected to see coming into this year. And if it's the defense we see moving forward, then I feel a lot different about Pittsburgh than I did coming into this game, because I was worried that the defensive holes, I'm a Cowboys fan. And when I watch the Dallas Cowboys, I know that everything that's great on offense is just going to get undone by the defense. And I had similar concerns about what I was seeing with the Steelers. After seeing a game like this, I wonder if those concerns are going to continue with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm curious if this is something that they can carry over, or if this is more just the Colts coming back down to earth. Now, something that I'll note, which people might have noticed from the name of this stream in general, is that Shane Steichen has kind of owned Pittsburgh throughout his career. Mm-hmm. He has this is his first real kind of struggle bus against this Steelers defense, and I was pleasantly surprised that they were able to kind of shut his offense down. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of he molded this offense in his image. The fact, the fact that Daniel Jones looked a little bit like Giants Daniel Jones is promising to me. The fact that Jonathan Taylor didn't absolutely run the ball down the Steelers' throat, which is something that Mike Tomlin has been, warning us about for the last 3 weeks. He's been constantly saying that even though the Steelers have overall defensive issues, it starts with stopping the run.
Mm-hmm.
And, I roll my eyes at that a little bit. But, you see today they gave up 55 rushing yards, only 45 to Taylor on a 3.2 yards per carry average.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. So, like, maybe, I don't want to give the Steelers defensive play callers too much credit. I think it's just in my, it's in my blood. In part because they've been so bad to start the season, and it's only 1 week. So I really, really, really do want to just caution us a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a really encouraging sign. Like, this is exactly what you would hope for from this team coming off of 2 straight losses. You have a week to prep for a team like the Colts, which, like you said, best offense through 8 weeks since the undefeated Patriots.
Yeah, like not a joke. And like
coming. Nobody saw this coming.
No, and like to your point, like some of it maybe yes is Daniel Jones specifically coming back down to earth, but like there are pieces of this Colts offense, like a Jonathan Taylor, like the offensive line, that like the Steelers still dominated those facets of the game today. And like that matters. Like the fact that the pass rush was able to get home against this Colts offensive line, against a mobile quarterback in Daniel Jones. Like even when you go back to Giants, Daniel Jones in his worst, like the one thing he could do was escape pressure because he was mobile. And like the Steelers pass rush, like we had a TJ Watt sighting today. Alex Highsmith played really well today. Cam Hayward was a monster on the interior today. Like if I'm the last I looked at the PFF live grades, Cam Hayward was the highest graded player in this game by PFF.
It's lovely to see.
Right.
Where and has it been? I don't know, but it's great.
Look, again, I'm not in the Steelers, locker room. I can't tell you where it's been, but I can tell you that this has me feeling a lot more optimistic about the Steelers than I definitely did, especially coming like, it wasn't just 2 straight losses coming into this game. It was 2 straight ugly losses. Like it was losses where the Steelers just looked like against the Bengals, the defense looked hapless against Joe Flacco. And then against the Packers, you were looking at like, you just looked completely outclassed, which is weird to say now because the Packers just lost to the Panthers today. So like, it's just a weird week in the NFL, but like, I do think if you're a Steelers fan, you should be optimistic coming out of this game.
I mean, how can you not, right? Like, it's been brutal. Yeah, I would agree with Grayson here. Peyton Wilson coming out party. I frankly, given how the Steelers linebackers had covered the last few weeks, especially against teams like the Packers, which tend to take advantage of that. Shout out to the Steelers linebackers for really stepping up, especially Peyton Wilson, who is known as a coverage linebacker. That is how he's going to make his bucks, whether it be in Pittsburgh or elsewhere. So he had to show up today, and he did big time. Now, whether the Steelers actually fix their scheme issues for good, I think we can kind of get to down the line. I don't want to get too far ahead of this pod because we're going to talk about the offense, defense, trade deadline stuff, everything, because Cody is here.
Yeah.
Again, for the national angles, I am all here for it. The trade deadline is coming up in a heartbeat here. So first, I will say, if y'all have any thoughts, please do comment on the Still Curtain chat. We will happily answer any questions. I will show them on the big screen just for us to see. So, right. But yeah, let's start first. Cody, would you prefer to start with the defense or the offense?
Let's keep. We've been talking a lot about the defense, so let's keep going with that. Let's wrap up that conversation, and then we can go to the offensive side of the ball.
All right, Cody, what did you think about the really just overall defensive kind of performance today?
I mean, again, like to me, it starts with the guys up front. It's always going to start with the guys up front, and especially with this Steelers defense. Like, I know the secondary in Pittsburgh has taken a lot of flack, and I think deservedly so, but they also haven't been done any favors. TJ Watt has not been TJ Watt this season. Alex Highsmith has been, up and down and off the field, not on the field some as well. And then Cam Hayward, he's done a disappearing act for a lot of this year. And to see them go up, not just in like perform well, it wasn't like they were performing well against a Browns team where, the offensive line is a sieve. It was a Colts team that I'm not exaggerating when I say looking, at TikTok, looking at Twitter over the past week, like I've seen nothing but highlights of the Colts offensive line just bullying people. And the Steelers were the bullies in this game. And so like that makes life for the secondary easier. And you wonder why Daniel Jones throws 3 picks in this game. Part of it is because he's still Daniel Jones, but part of it is because the pass rush is forcing Daniel Jones to make bad decisions, and the coverage players for the Steelers aren't having to cover for a half second more or a second more than they otherwise would. And for someone like, when you look at the Steelers personnel, like Joey Porter Jr. is a good player, but he's also not like a freak athlete by any stretch of the imagination. You know what I mean? And like when you're asking someone who is at a athletic disadvantage against the NFL wide receivers in most cases, and like when the press and the physicality of Joey Porter Jr. doesn't allow him to stick with the guy and he has to stick with him with speed for another second, that matters a hell of a lot. And so like seeing this pass rush performing the way it did, and obviously performing well against the run, like I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw from the Steelers today. And as you mentioned, like it wasn't a performance I expected by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Well, so like, I mean, I messaged you this, Cody, on the side, but in the month of October, the Steelers didn't right. turn teams over. Like I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not trying to be funny. They literally didn't do it.
Yeah.
And they had a ton of turnovers today, which is really how this team was kind of built, right? Like Aaron Rodgers has been better than expected. I have really enjoyed watching him play, and we'll get to the offense. I don't want to overstep the bounds of this category right now, but the fact that this defense was able to kind of create turnovers is huge, and that starts with the front seven always. Forever and always. Even when the Steelers were winning Super Bowls, I mean, Ike Taylor and like the Shea Townsend were their corners, which, shout out to the 2005 Super Bowl winning team today here in Pittsburgh that celebrated their 20-year anniversary. My cousin was at the game and sent me some photos.
Yeah, I mean, when we were watching the end of the game waiting to go live, I was like, hey, Joey Porter Sr.'s there, and you informed me of this. I was unaware of this going into the
game. They got to celebrate, and the defense showed up for them, which like I've been wondering where the heck that's been, but I don't want to be negative on this. Obviously, like they showed up today. So, the Steelers, have cornerback talent in theory, right? Like they have Jalen Ramsey, they have, Darius Slay didn't play much that game or this game. I think that might be part of the reason why they performed a little better. And, Joey Porter Jr. does, he gets penalized too much. I think some of that's on the officials. A lot of it's on him. He needs to learn how to play at this level without holding and, hands to the face in front of 5 to 10 yards. That's going to get called every time. But it was encouraging for me to see this defense finally make some freaking adjustments that Josh and I, frankly, have been calling for weeks. They didn't make all of them. Nick Herbig only played like 22 snaps or something, and he entered the game with one of the highest pass rush percentage snaps, pass rush percentage stats in the league. But it was nice to see them make some adjustments. Jalen Ramsey moved to safety, I think was a big one. He played a decent amount there. I think. I would never root for anyone's injury. Obviously, Slay, I think being out and being replaced with kind of younger replacements did help. It just helps. I mean, when you look at the Steelers stats from the last few weeks, especially in the secondary, the QBR against, most of the best QBR against is those older guys, and that includes Ramsey, but it's definitely guys like Slay who just continues to get torched. And, I'm not saying Brandon Eccles is the answer. Right. I'm not saying that like the recently acquired, the recently acquired Duger is the answer. Like, I'm not saying that any of these guys are going to help long-term, but I think having more of a rotation in there in the secondary for the times that this pass rush doesn't get home, which like, again, today was awesome. I'm glad that they got home as often as they did. TJ looked like TJ for the first time, frankly, this season.
Yeah.
it was fantastic. But do I expect them to get home as often every game? No. That's part of why they made these deals in the secondary, was because like they knew at some point they were going to run into an offensive line that was going to be able to handle the front seven, and they were going to have to freaking cover. And when they've run into that this year, the secondary hasn't been able to cover. So this was a very encouraging sign. I don't want to suggest it wasn't, but do you think it's sustainable? I guess would be my question, based on what you saw and what you've noticed around the league in terms of coverage schemes.
I do think it's maybe not at this degree, maybe not to the level that they played today, but I do think it's sustainable in a way where they can play a functional brand of defense, which unfortunately they haven't played a whole hell of a lot this season. You know what I mean? And like, I didn't care for the Slay signing when they made it this offseason, just because you have someone like Joey Porter Jr. in there who, as I just mentioned, is not like the most athletic corner. He's physical. That's his game. And you have Slay, who's somewhat been kind of defying the odds leading up to the season. The fact that he's been still an effective corner at his age, and
even playing. Frankly.
Exactly. And so like that was just a gamble that I think was worthwhile for some team to make. But I think for the Steelers, it was a more hefty gamble than it would have been for some other teams. And so like, I didn't care for that, but I do think that you're right. Like rotating these guys, rotating Ramsey in at safety more, like that's something when the trade happened that we thought was going to happen more often than it has to this point. And, Ramsey, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's 30 years old at this point. Like he's not Slay. He's not a dinosaur by any stretch of the imagination, but like he has lost a step. He's not the, all world corner that he was when he was first in the league.
God, no.
But he's also, but like one of the things that made Jalen Ramsey special was he is a unique blend of high football IQ and elite athleticism. And like when you get that blend, that's when you get Jalen Ramsey in his prime. Well, he may not have the elite athleticism, but he still has an elite football IQ. And you put him at safety, which he played in college at Florida State, which they used him a little bit at in LA when he was with the Rams. Like, I do think that if you're rotating him and kind of like rotating other guys into sub packages, like bringing Eccles in, bringing James Pierre into kind of these sub packages, and dropping Ramsey back into safety, I think that affords the Steelers more opportunity to allow the pass rush even a little more leeway. Like even if they don't play at the level they did today, if they do improve, and this is a sign of like improvement in that front, which we haven't seen so much this season, I think that it's going to help elevate the secondary play. And then, a little preview on the trade deadline. Like I know all the talk for the Steelers has been like nationally has been about wide receiver. And I don't get like, I'm not against that, but like I look at this team and I'm like, Kyle Duggar shouldn't be the only addition to this secondary. No. And like cornerback, if I was in the Steelers front office, that would be the first thing that I would be calling about right now.
Yeah, we will get there. I definitely want to get there because to your point, I kind of like how the Steelers offense is set up. I don't hate what they're doing with the personnel. I mean, Josh and I have been on this pod, at least 6 times now, and we're praising Arthur Smith every single week. I never thought I'd be there. I frankly thought I would not like Arthur Smith. Yeah. But he's been great this year, especially with his personnel. And with that, Cody, if you'd like, we can pivot to the offenses to the offensive side of the ball.
Absolutely.
Not just this week, but really like anything you've seen from them this year. I mean, obviously the weeks before this weren't what we wanted, but I mean, at 5-3 through 8 weeks, I mean, did you expect them to be at this point? Really?
Offensively, God, no. Like offensively, I thought this was going to be a disaster, if I'm being completely honest with you. And it's not been. And like, I think one of my biggest causes for concern, like initially, was I just thought that Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith would be oil and water, because you have someone like, you basically have 2 control freaks trying to run the offense. And like, I thought that was just going to be an absolute clash. And even when there were positive reports coming out of training camp, I didn't believe them, because it's training camp and I don't believe half of what comes out of training camp. And so like, I'm seeing all of this, but I'm watching it in practice, and it seems like a very healthy relationship between the two, because you have the very, I don't want to say predictable, because that's probably not the right word, but the more traditional offense that Arthur Smith does run, that same one he ran in Tennessee, same one he ran in Atlanta. Like it's a very traditional run-based offense. And like, obviously the Steelers offensive line, like you're not running the ball super effectively. But I think when you marry that with Rodgers and his knowledge of defense, his knowledge of how to attack defense, his knowledge of pre-snap looks, and you give Rodgers just enough control to manipulate at the line of scrimmage, I think we've seen that really work in tandem because like you're not seeing this isn't the same like this is nothing like what Rodgers ran with Nathaniel Hackett, what he ran with Matt LaFleur, what he ran with Mike McCarthy. Like this is nothing like that, but you're seeing little like aspects of that, the little quick game passes when you almost like it's very clearly a run formation. You can see Rodgers changing the play of the line to something that's quick to the outside because he knows that the pressure is going to be coming up the middle. And like I think Rodgers has had much more of a positive effect on this offense and on Arthur Smith to that degree than I think I ever expected. Like I thought this was going to be a disaster. I thought it was going to blow up, and it's been the opposite. Like you were 4-3 coming into this game because of the offense, not because of the defense, which is
it was
just
the only
antithesis of what. Yeah, and that's the antithesis of what I thought this team was going to be.
Yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised with a few things with this offense. First is mainly how Rodgers has kind of just been okay with it, honestly. I mean, what is the narrative with Aaron Rodgers what was the narrative with Aaron Rodgers going into the season? He is not always what's the word? I'd say amenable. He's not always amenable. He's not always amenable to every situation, right? Like I don't know, and like I don't think I've seen him on McAfee this season, which has been a
I'm not watching a whole lot of McAfee, so I can't really tell you.
No, but like it's a pleasant surprise that I don't recall it.
Yes.
Because I feel like it would have made the national news. And like it's nice that he's he's gotten the ball out very quickly. I feel like at a lot of points he hasn't had much choice.
Correct.
But like the offense is kind of built for that. It's like DK Metcalf running short routes for catch and run. And they have a couple deep threats. Their tight ends have been pretty good. I think you could expect more from Jonnu Smith. I've been a little disappointed there. But Darnell Washington has done far more than I ever thought Darnell Washington would do in a Steelers uniform.
Yes.
Freiermuth the last couple weeks has been pretty good. And that's what you kind of hope from a Freiermuth type, is that like he would kind of have a coming out party at some point as that go-to tight end. Like he makes the money for it. Jonnu was acquired just kind of, I feel like, in case Freiermuth didn't.
And like, absolutely.
He almost seems like he's not fully necessary now. It's like, like they and I love their jumbo set. I feel like that's something that isn't talked about enough with like the national media, especially. But here in Pittsburgh, it's gotten a whole ton of hype because they basically run this set with like 2 or 3 tight ends on the field at the same time in DK, and they either run to that side or they run play action. They have like 3 receiving threats that you can't really cover because Darnell is like 6'8" with Shaq's body. And like, how are you supposed to cover that dude? And like, I know we saw a few times where Darnell might have been misused today, at the goal line, but like he also had a couple great plays. And that's more than he's been used since he came into the NFL. Like that's fantastic to see. I love to see Arthur Smith like have an offense that plays into his identity instead of one he feels like he has to build around.
And he's changing his identity too, because you think about, like he brought in, like you can say whatever you want. He brought in Jonnu Smith because he knows Jonnu Smith. Like that's why he brought him in. I'm sorry to make you choke and maybe spit that up your nose, but like it's true. Like yeah, exactly, man. Like he brought in Jonnu Smith because he knows Jonnu Smith, but like Johnny's not the same player that he was last year. Like he's clearly lost a step from what he was in Miami and obviously what he was in Tennessee or Atlanta before that. But like you look at like Darnell Washington is not going to be able to play the Jonnu Smith role. Those are 2 very different body types, 2 very different types of players. But Arthur Smith has found like ways to adjust his offense and the tight end usage in the offense to fit what Darnell Washington does, whether that is as a blocker, whether that is in the receiving game. And then Freiermuth, like he is a more traditional tight end. And like you're seeing him, like Arthur Smith use that. But Arthur Smith has adapted, which I didn't like. that's progress from Arthur Smith, because God knows he wasn't adapting in Atlanta. Like, that was not a thing that we saw. That's why he's not the head coach in Atlanta anymore, is he was not adapting. He was looking at Tyler Algier and being like, yeah, you're my running back. And Bijan Robinson's just like wasting away on the sidelines. Like, I did not have the highest opinion of Arthur Smith coming out of Atlanta. But when I'm seeing this, it does remind me, like, when you think back to when Tennessee was going to, AFC championship games. Like, you relied on Derrick Henry, but then you like started to see more wrinkles come about. You started to see Tannehill use his legs more. You started to see Jonnu Smith early in his career get used in that offense more. Like, you started to see things progress and Arthur Smith get back to those wrinkles. And I think we kind of forgot about that because Atlanta put such a sour taste in our mouths. And then, year one in Pittsburgh last year, like, I think a lot of the issues with the offense, call me crazy, might have had something to do with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson more so than Arthur Smith.
Yeah. I think you're onto something there. I really do. I loved the Arthur Smith hire because it felt like one that Tomlin didn't make.
Right.
He made it, but it felt like it was like him meeting the front office in the middle.
Yes.
And so that's why I was really, really excited about it. I was like, this guy, he's not perfect. Yeah, I didn't love him in Atlanta, but like, he's done this before with Tennessee. Like when you look at that Titans offense obviously having Derrick Henry helps.
Yeah, that's a bit of a cheat code.
But like that's the offense that like I would assume that Mike Tomlin looks at on film and it's like, man, that's my dream. Like that's his standard is the standard. So that's what that dude's looking at when he builds his dream offense. So I was really, really I've been really excited, frankly, to see him have kind of his own system. Like they obviously brought in Rodgers. They brought in players that he's familiar with. Really good blocking wide receivers. And Rodgers isn't afraid to check him too, which is kind of, again, I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan overall. I have my reasons, but he's been really good this year, and so is Arthur Smith. And like, I thought, if you would tell me before the season, hey, week 9 pod with Cody, what are you going to talk about? Yeah. I assumed it'd be the opposite. I really did. I thought we'd be complaining about Aaron Rodgers and complaining about the running game and complaining about how the offense doesn't have any weapons. And in reality, I'm not. So, from there, unless you have anything else specific to talk about with the offense, Cody, I kind of want to pivot to the AFC North race. If that's okay,
let's do it. No, let's expand it. Let's go to the division.
Cool. Yeah. So we got a comment here from our friends over at Derpy Entertainment, and I would love. So the Bears beat the Bengals. That's final. Which we just love to see over here on the Still Curtain Pod.
That's right.
Yeah, the Bengals dropped to, I believe.
I'm not a Steelers fan, but the Bengals don't deserve anything good in life. Like, the way they handle their business is not, it drives me insane.
Cody's over here making fans. He's got to drop his TikTok soon. But yeah. So we love to see it. We love to see, I believe, the Steelers now. It's 3-6 for the Bengals, correct? Am I wrong there?
I think that's
3-6. 3-6. Yeah. So the Ravens won this week over the Dolphins, obviously, to go to 3-5. They're the biggest contender with the Steelers in the North, whereas the Bengals now are 3-6. Cody, looking at the landscape here, with the North. From an unbiased perspective, which I probably can't give if I'm being honest. Do you believe in the Steelers still as winners, as potential winners of the North, or do you see them as second to the Ravens, like Vegas does and most everyone else?
I think it is a tighter race than what the Vegas odds makers and others might have you believe. Just because, like, this Ravens team is flawed. Like, it's not like, this isn't like we're looking at a Ravens team that I think is a world beater. Like, yes, they won this past week. Congratulations, you beat the Dolphins, man. Like, the Dolphins are terrible. The Dolphins just fired their GM. Half the roster is going to be on a different roster by the end of this week, by the time we get to the trade deadline. Like, I'm not moved by the Ravens beating the Dolphins. And like, even when Lamar was healthy, we saw a lot of cracks in the armor with this Ravens team. And like, I understand that the Steelers are not perfect either. Like, we're optimistic about the defense coming out of this game, but like there is also a chance that we regress coming right back in week 10. So like I'm aware of all of that, but like I think you're talking about two flawed teams that have so we're going into week 10, like 9 weeks left in the regular season to like race this out. And Pittsburgh has a 2-game cushion. And like to me, when you're talking about two teams that are far from perfect at this moment, a 2-game cushion means a hell of a lot, because you can have a game where, the Steelers just are not in their bag and like look absolutely awful. Go back to the Bengals loss, like something like that happens. You can have another one of those. And even if the Ravens win, you still have a little bit of a cushion in this division. And like, that's a big thing. And like, I do think this division race is much closer than the odds would have you believe, because I understand where it's coming from. It is Lamar. We've seen what the Ravens have done. They have dominated this division in recent years. But, we talk about the Steelers defense. Hell, the Ravens defense has dropped off a cliff as well. Again, like I'm not moved by them holding the Dolphins to 6 points. Like I'm not. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm with you for sure. Like I think the odds makers probably got a little, I guess, ahead of themselves. It's only natural. I mean, the Ravens have been there and done that before, and the Steelers literally just blew a big division lead last year.
Yeah.
I feel what Vegas is throwing at me, I guess, right? Like I get nervous every week because I'm like, this is just one, this is one game closer to disaster. I assume that. I feel like it must be what most Blue Jays fans felt last night when they were watching Game 7 of the World Series.
Ooh, tough for the friends north of the border, man.
Sorry to twist that knife, Toronto fans, but but like nonetheless, I think that they, with Lamar back in play, and I look at the schedules, it's tough not to understand where they're coming from. Right. So this is where I'm a little negative on the Steelers, unfortunately. Yeah. Like what I think will make the difference here, and it's not like rocket science. The Steelers have, 2 of their last 5 games are against the Ravens. Mm-hmm. That's what's ultimately going to decide this.
Yeah.
They have a game on December 7th and their final game of the year on the 4th. And I bet you that game on the 4th means something, even if it's just for the Steelers to make the wild card or something. Like I would assume that there's something in play here because Mike Tomlin just loves his 9-8 teams. So there's going to be something. There's going to be something at play here, whether it's a wild card spot or whatever. I look at the Ravens end here, or their second half. I mean, at the Vikings, I guess did the Vikings end up holding on against the Lions today?
That's a great question. I was not actually paying attention to that.
They played pretty well today. So like that, and JJ's back. Yes, they beat the Lions 27-24. Wow. So like that's a good result. The Vikings have their quarterback back. That's not easy. And it's in Minneapolis. If the Ravens lose that game, I think it opens things up a little bit for the Steelers. Absolutely. But beyond that, they play at the Browns, they host the Jets, they host the Bengals, going into that Steelers matchup, which they host. So the Steelers in that same time frame, at Chargers, host the Bengals, at the Bears, host the Bills, and then go into Baltimore. I don't feel great about that stretch. I know that was a lot of words and literally just reading off the schedule, but I do that all the time with my friends and family, and it's just, like somehow the Steelers' schedule the last few years has been just super backloaded, and this year's no exception. And I'm definitely a little worried about that.
I mean, I'll give you some. I'll play devil's advocate there because. You talk about the first game for the Bengals with the Ravens. That's on a short week. That's on Thanksgiving that they played the first matchup against the Bengals.
Okay, I see you.
We saw what the Steelers looked like in a short week against the Bengals. Just saying, you can't rule it out. So like there is that, and then more importantly, going into that Week 18 matchup that you were talking about with Steelers Ravens, like whatever's on the line there. The Ravens come into that game with a much harder stretch. Like the very end stretch for both these teams. It's advantage Steelers because coming into that game, they go at Bengals, home for the Patriots, at Packers, and then you play at the Steelers. So like,
Okay.
I understand where you're coming
you,
from.
you can flip it. I definitely get it.
Yeah, and like as a fan like of my team, like I look at the schedule, I'm gonna see the most pessimistic view of it. And I understand that, but I do
Yeah.
think it does balance out over the second half of the season.
Yeah. My only thought is that like when the Steelers get into the position of like, oh no, we're losing some ball games late. I have seen how that goes.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
but at the same
it's usually
time,
not good.
you did just upset the number 1 seed in the
We
AFC
did.
today.
We did. It was great. It was
So
great,
there's that.
which is why, yeah. So I'm going to be positive. I'm going to take Cody's viewpoint on this because first off, it's his job to keep me in check. I said that at the start of the podcast, and I stand by it. And he is. We'll just call him right on this one. We'll call him right on this one because
All my pessimism is
a
reserved for the
Steelers,
Dallas Cowboys.
a
So
Steelers division title. Hey, I wasn't going to reveal the team you rooted for until the very end. That's your fault. You just
it's terrible.
You just dug your own grave there.
It's a bad life choice on my part. I'm just stuck in it.
That was yeah. That's filling on you. I don't know who would do that on purpose. All right. Well, so we talked about the North some. I feel like we kind of know where we're at there. I mean, the Browns are just the Browns. You know, is it worth a discussion? Maybe on a Browns pod. This is not a Browns
Dylan
pod.
Gabriel is not very good.
Yeah. Well, you know, had the Steelers played the Browns, oh wait, they did, and they you know pummeled Dylan Gabriel into the ground, and there's nobody else to play quarterback because they traded Joe Flacco to the Bengals, and I still am mad at them about that. So we will pivot to the trade deadline, which is something I wanted to get at with you because Cody is again the NFL analyst on FanSided.com. He has been talking about the trade deadline for weeks. Unfortunately, I can only imagine. As one of our baseball people on fanside.com, I also have to do the same around late July, early August. So I kind of know his pain, but the NFL trade deadline is ramping up more this year than it has really ever before. So it's kind of like uncharted territory in a sense, right, Cody?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think over the past few years, we've kind of seen it building. Like the teams are valuing draft capital a little bit differently. And more importantly, like, and that's a two-way street. Like teams that are buying are valuing a day 3 pick, even if it's an early day 3 pick, like a round 4 pick, they're valuing it differently than they used to. But at the same time, a team that's selling, they're also going to value a day 3 pick more so. Like they understand that can be capital to move up, you know, when it comes to draft day. That can be capital to make a move in the offseason when you're trying to go for it. And you know, the Steelers are in an interesting spot because I saw a comment earlier from your normal co-host Josh Urish saying, "Don't be fooled, sell at the trade deadline." They're not going to sell. I don't know if that's a Steelers sentiment, but like
I feel like widely no, or just widely hoped, I guess.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. I do want to introduce our next co-host here, though.
Okay.
I just you know while you're going, in honor of the late great Jerry Stiller, I have in front of me a Serenity Now button that I'm going to press every time Cody gives me heartburn while talking about the Steelers trade deadline, and it's going to be a lot. So I'm gonna try and be nice and not interrupt you, but I am going to press it, just so you know.
100%, man. And you can interrupt me as much as you want. I'll keep talking. It doesn't bother me.
For those who are wondering what I'm talking about, please go watch after this podcast the final season of Seinfeld, episode 3. That's all I'm going to say.
Serenity now.
Definitely.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at the Steelers, like they're going to buy at the trade deadline. They've already bought. Like they're going to keep. I apologize, but they've already bought. So like, there's no stopping them. Like you're not going to stop now. However, I do think that Omar Khan in this front office, like you look at them, and they might not always make the moves I would make personally if I were in their position, but at the same time, they do have a plan, and they're not reckless. This is not a reckless front office. It's not a reckless regime by any stretch of the imagination. And when you look at this trade deadline, they are operating from a position of advantage with the draft capital. You have the extra 3rd round pick from the George Pickens trade. And like, that doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to make 2 3rd round picks when the draft comes around. You can trade back from one of those picks and end up with if you trade a fourth at the deadline, you can trade back for a fourth and a fifth and get that, in return. So like, it does open up your doorways to do a little bit more. And so like, I would be shocked if we see the Steelers, shooting for the moon, making some sort of blockbuster deal. But there are moves, I think, that can be made to help this team. Most importantly, I think when you're talking about the Steelers, I think the worst thing you could do would be to do what the Jets tried to do with Aaron Rodgers, to do what the Packers were trying to do with Aaron Rodgers at the end of his tenure, which is go all in on win now. And like, you obviously want to make moves that help you win now, but you also want to make moves that prepare you for the future. And I think that there are opportunities to do that aren't necessarily the moves that we see being talked about. Like, I'll start with one that has been talked about ad nauseum for a month at this point, which is Jacoby Myers coming in as a wide receiver. Amen, brother. I think it's the worst idea in the world. Like, I don't think he fits in the Steelers offense to begin with. Like, I think it's a horrible schematic fit with Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't understand why we would do this. However, and on top of that, he's an expiring contract. So again, in the terms of win now, like, that's a move where you're just trying to go for it now. And that's not what I would be trying to do. However, when I look at some of the players that are available, that could potentially be available, I'm looking at guys like a Jalen Naylor in Minnesota, who is, still on his rookie contract, doesn't really have a role in Minnesota right now. And Minnesota is a team that could be looking for draft capital. So I think it's something that could happen there. I look at someone like from the Dallas Cowboys, Jalen Tolbert, who is a guy who he's not going to be a number one. He might not even be a number two, but he can be a solid number three option and give the Steelers another option in this offense with Calvin Austin and DK Metcalf. If you really want to shoot for the moon in terms of a move that I think can help now and help for the future and may not be that costly, ideal world, A.D. Mitchell from the Colts, who you didn't see much of today because he has fallen out of favor with this Colts regime. But it's a dude who I loved when he was coming out of college at Texas. I thought the Colts got a steal, and he just very clearly doesn't fit with Shane Steichen. I think he could fit with this offense. I think he'd be a great complement to DK Metcalf. He still has 2 years remaining on his rookie deal, and I think he could probably be had for a fourth-round pick. And, like, that's someone who I would really think would fit really well with what they're trying to do here.
Yeah. I mean, you'll notice. I mean, Josh is not wrong in his thought process. I mean, from past weeks, the overwhelming opinion has been, please sell. But you beat the Colts. Does that mean something? Does that change things? I can guarantee you, the first version of this segment was going to be much worse, which is going to be me interrupting Cody while he gave his trade deadline analysis as Mike Tomlin. But I decided I won't do that. I'll just kind of give some feedback based on what Mike Tomlin is thinking, which I need to do this before I talk. So Mike Tomlin sees this win, and I haven't seen his press conference. So I don't know what he said or what he will say leading up to Tuesday. However, this is a guy who is devoted to winning now. Like his eyes are only on the present. Mm-hmm. He views draft picks as a way to get players that can help him right now. Mm-hmm. That's why he trusts a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers more than he would trust a rookie he could draft next year.
Yeah.
And he trusts, trading for DK Metcalf or signing, I don't know, Marquez Valdez-Scantling or something more than he does George Pickens, who he traded, who I would assume he had a pretty decent role in trading to the Cowboys. I don't know that. Yeah. I'm not an insider, but all I know is he tried to reach George Pickens. It didn't work, and then they traded him. Mm-hmm. So, those things don't add up.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Yeah, he's doing great elsewhere.
Yeah.
What I worry about is that they'll buy a little too much. And mm-hmm. to your point, like most of the players you mentioned should probably be acquired for day 3 picks, maybe.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Which I think is where they should be aiming if they want to buy. Honestly, I don't really like the idea of getting like a big wide receiver too at this point. I don't really think it's needed. I'd prefer help in the secondary and the offensive line. The offensive line, if we jump back into the offense here for a little bit, has some injuries, and they're relying on guys like Broderick Jones, who is a rookie who is probably about to be dumped. Wherever they dumped the Bucko bricks last year. And Troy Fautanu is good on paper, but has not performed up to it yet.
He played well today. I was looking at his PFF grades. He actually played really well today.
He did pretty well today. So, but like it's inconsistent, and there's a lot of young guys. So like some depth on the offensive line would be nice, and some secondary help would be great. And that's where my mind goes in terms of like marginal upgrades, hopefully rentals that they just get for day 3 picks that like they probably wouldn't get much out of anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the minute I see them connected to someone like, I don't know, we all see the fake trade proposals out there, right? Like Jalen Waddle and crap like that. And I'm just like, don't, please just don't. And Mike Tomlin, Cody, one thing that like I would just, I'm going to make sure to mention here that I don't think the national pundits necessarily know is Mike Tomlin has more power in the Steelers front office than Omar Khan does.
Right. I'm aware of that because of you. More than anything.
I don't think it's close, frankly. Like I think they hired Omar Khan, and I think he's good at his job. I think when he's allowed to do his job, and Andy Weidel was there from the Eagles, who is really good at building like front sevens and like offensive lines, like anything up front, he's got. But whenever Mike Tomlin is given his way, it's always short-term upgrades. Yeah. And whenever they draft guys early that like just don't really make a lot of sense, it's because they view them as what they are right now and not what they could be. Right. And that's what frustrates me about giving away picks and giving Tomlin all this power. And so to your point, I kind of hope that you're right in terms of like kind of meeting in the middle. Like Tomlin only has a year left on his contract right now. They extended him, which is totally fine. They extended him for 1 more year. They didn't want him on an expiring contract. That's normal for any head coach. And Tomlin's done a lot here. That's okay. But I worry about giving him too much power. That's always my thing. And if he does have too much power, I think we'll find out at this deadline, because he's going to make a big swing for someone to help out Rodgers. And then it's just going to end up being a bunch of nothing because they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs again, which is the best version of this team, frankly. Yeah. Like as much as I love today's win, and I didn't want to get super negative on this pod, I think the best version of this team is winning a playoff game. The worst version of this team is missing the playoffs by a game, probably. And like that's where we've been the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean it's our longtime coworker John Bueller. He's not the biggest Mike Tomlin fan in the world, and it's for that exact reason, all the reasons you just mentioned. And like, yeah, I do think that I have a hard time balancing what I think is the smart move and what I think could happen. And like, if I were gun to my head, you ask me what's more likely, trading for an A.D. Mitchell type of player, someone that can help now and in the future, or trading for Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is the more likely option right now.
Yeah.
And like, that's just because like I've seen what the Steelers do. And then on top of that, like, Mike Tomlin has power. Aaron Rodgers also has a hell of a lot of power. He has everywhere he's ever gone. And Aaron Rodgers knows that he maybe has one more year beyond this year, if not just this year. And so like you look at this situation, and it is, I would understand if you were nervous as a Steelers fan. Like I fully understand where you're coming from. The good news is I don't think that you're going to have to worry about Mike Tomlin or anyone overextending themselves on the offensive line market, because there's not a really good one. Doesn't exist. Yeah. Like I think that the best candidates for trades on the offensive line are actually on the Browns. You look at a Wyatt Teller, you look at a Joel Bitonio, and like they're not the Browns are not trading with the Steelers. Like that's just not going to happen. Yeah. And so like if you're looking elsewhere, you're looking at an Evan Neal who has sucked in New York with the Giants, and like former first round pick. Like I understand if a team wants to take a gamble on it, but like definitely not a sure thing that you're bringing in there. Braxton Jones with the Bears, who lost his job coming into this year. Like, again, that's a depth piece. Like, I'm not like the only immediate impact guy, and I'm still not even sure how big of an impact that I've seen his name floated around is Sean Ryan on the Packers, which I actually think that might be a decent fit and also not very costly. Like I think you're talking day 3 pick there, but he has guard tackle versatility. So like when you talk about injuries in the offensive line that need to be, mitigated, he's someone that can do that in multiple ways. He's not a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a fine player. He's got, I think, 4 years of experience in Green Bay. So like you're getting a player who, you're not trying to get his feet wet or anything like that. He already has his feet wet, and you're getting someone who can potentially plug into multiple spots. So like if I'm looking on the offensive line, ideally that's what I would want the Steelers to target. And frankly, with how minimal this offensive line market is, I think it's a pool that the Steelers could dip their toes in.
Yeah. I mean, I would just prefer them not like blow things up. I guess.
Yeah.
That's incredibly simple. But when I look at this deadline, I think there's going to be some big players moved that maybe we don't expect. And I just want the Steelers to just dip their toe in the water. That's really it. Just like dip their toe in the water. Had they lost this game, I would have felt very differently, but pleasantly surprised. Clearly they, have shown that they still have a chance at maybe winning this division, but there's just like, it's not worth getting rid of all, a ton of picks, especially before a draft that you host. Steelers, Pittsburgh is hosting the draft this year. I'm sure Still Curtain will have a live show for it, and hopefully I'll be on it. But like that's going to be a whole thing. So like, and to that point, I was hoping we could talk about your mock draft.
Absolutely.
Always from this week a little bit. Obviously the Steelers won today, so that probably messes some things up with the mock in terms of the order and everything, but
it's November. We're not too terribly concerned about order at this point.
This is true. But I thought we could close the pod with maybe just a preview of what's to come, because I'm guessing that we'll talk NFL draft quarterback prospects for forever on this podcast, really, up until we find one here in Pittsburgh. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are in terms of like what this QB class looks like first off, and then where you think the Steelers can reasonably land, like whether it be trading up or just who might fall to them.
No, so I'm higher on this quarterback class than a lot of people, it seems. In the mock I had, which you can still check out on FanSided.com. It's that, like Mark said, the order's probably a little messed up now, but it's it's more about identifying positions of need and like ranges of where prospects could go. I had 5 quarterbacks going in the first round, and some of that is definitely based on potential. Like 2 quarterback prospects that I think could be in the Steelers range, where when we're talking about wild card or divisional round loss in the playoffs, like if we're talking about there, or if we want to play into your pessimism, Mark, just missing the playoffs in that 15 to 18 range, you're looking at Lenora Sellers and you're looking at a John Mateer, and I think both guys are immensely talented. I think both guys are still learning how to play quarterback, and like that's not necessarily me personally, I don't look at that as a bad thing, especially for the Steelers. My read on this situation, this entire, like basically since the first 3 weeks of the season, I think Aaron Rodgers is coming back in 2026. I think that he is playing another year in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And so I think that if the Steelers draft a quarterback with their pick and they don't move up, like I think you could do a lot worse than drafting into Lenora Sellers. I think you could do a lot worse than drafting with John Mateer, because you're going to have a year to sit them behind Rodgers. And I don't think Rodgers is some great mentor. In fact, I would probably limit how much this rookie quarterback talks to Aaron Rodgers. That's probably a good idea. But at the same time, I do think watching how Rodgers handles his business as a professional quarterback, I think watching how Rodgers practices makes a lot of sense.
We have a new friend here. I want to introduce Shane Kubis here from stillcurtain.com. Has been nice enough to to join us for the end of the pod. We've got Cody talking about NFL draft analysis, but definitely want to give Shane a chance to hop in here because we've been talking about this game for 50 minutes, and I think Shane deserves a chance to maybe clear some stuff up based on what he saw.
Yeah, so I wanted to try to hop on before you guys finished up here because I was obviously working at trying to get stuff out about the game, obviously on stillcurtain.com. Definitely everyone check that out. It's our written content. We're always pumping out a bunch of stuff there. But yeah, I was listening to the pod. You guys talked about some of the stuff. And I think that in general, the fan part of me wants to be like, okay, we're back, guys.
We're back.
We're in. The pass rush was good. The run defense was good, right? Like the run defense was good against Jonathan Taylor of all people.
Yeah.
Which, like, whatever. And then I remembered we're the Steelers, though. So the Chargers are going to run for 200 yards next week.
Oh, no.
Kamani Vidal is going to be a Pro Bowler off of that game at the end of the season. And then I'm going to be sitting here like, okay, so we're bad still. Like, we know that that's, like, the most likely outcome of this. But to be fair, like, and to be real, I do think there were some things in this game that you can take away and go, okay, like, we have stuff to work with. The pass rush is still obviously there whenever they get the right matchups and whenever TJ Watt plays really well. I would still like to see Nick Herbig play more, but I'll give him a pass because it didn't matter this week. But
yeah, he only played like 25 downs. Right?
It's like, yeah, man. Like
where was he? He's amazing.
Right, but to be fair, Alex Highsmith,
he was great. He was great.
Big game by Alex Highsmith. So I'll live with it this week because it didn't matter. The secondary did look, I'll say better, but it's still not good because
it's a low bar. It's a low bar to clear.
Yeah, a lot of yards given up, but they did create turnovers. Joey Porter Jr. of all people catches a pass, which that never really happens for him. He's got, let's just say, not the best hands in the world. Not trying to say I could catch a ball better than him, but it would be probably a toss-up, unfortunately, for Joey. Woo. But a lot of stuff went their way, right? And against the Colts team that, quite frankly, looked unstoppable this entire season. And we knew that was eventually going to stop, whether it's just a one-off game like this or Daniel Jones becoming Daniel Jones again, which he kind of did in this game, but he was under a lot of pressure, which has been his problem. But again, like you have to be happy with the team right now. You do. You have to try to take this momentum into the Chargers game where, listen, Joe Alt went down again. The Chargers can't do two things right in a row, it seems like, without something bad happening to them. Justin Herbert should really go see like a shaman or something and like just try to figure this thing out because his team can't stay healthy for 2 games in a row for him. But again, like it's Justin Herbert. We've seen him do stuff to this Steelers defense when it was better than this. Like, let's be real. Like, he is certainly the type of quarterback that they have trouble with because there's no part of the field he can't attack. Like, there's nowhere you can leave gaps and he won't find it. So, again, we'll see going into next week, but I do think there's some things to take away from this game that you can be happy about.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you saw the Joe Alt injury, but he's not going to be back next week.
No, he won't be playing, I don't think. And that's just – I mean, come on, man. You're 2 franchise tackles. You have 2 of them, and you have none. Halfway through the season, you have none of them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Harbaugh needs to go see the shaman as well.
Maybe him too. Yeah, maybe him too.
Yeah,
but
we need like an Etsy witch or something.
Something.
Like,
I mean,
like reverse. Know. Yeah, to like reverse curse the Chargers. Yeah, that was a rough one, but yeah, no, but yeah, I was definitely pleasantly surprised by this result. Frankly, like I told Cody earlier and our audience, I had an entire podcast ready for if the Steelers lost. I shared it with Cody. I was like, I don't think this is going to go our way, and then Daniel Jones turned into Daniel Jones and the Steelers took advantage. Like, part of me feels like maybe DJ is just the kind of quarterback that the Steelers take advantage of.
Historically, yes.
Historically,
yes.
Justin Herbert, not as much.
Not as much.
So
not quite.
We'll see next week. I don't know. But yeah, we were talking a bit about the NFL draft, Shane.
Cool.
And I might let Cody finish his bit, and we can determine which quarterback we would prefer because I think Cody was narrowing it down to 2.
Okay.
That's if you don't trade up because there's guys at the top of the draft that I like, as more.
I'd be surprised if we traded up, frankly.
That's not really the Steelers' DNA.
Not typically, yeah.
And I mean, if it was the Devin Bush scars might still be a little raw.
Hey, he's playing pretty good for the Browns, which is hilarious. But whatever, we're not going to talk about that right now.
I mean, that's like looking like a I can't even think of an analogy, but I mean, it's not hard to look good on the Browns if you're halfway competent.
I mean, it's fair.
But no, so Lenore Sellers is the highest upside quarterback in the draft, even above the guys that are at the top of the draft. Like my top 3 quarterbacks right now are Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and Dante Moore Jr. And then I have Lenore Sellers right behind them. Lenore Sellers is more talented than any of those 3. He's just still learning how to play quarterback. He knows how to be an athlete, and he's a damn good athlete. Like, it's a very impressive thing to watch. Yeah. But I do, like, as I was saying right when you came on, Shane, like, I from a national perspective, I'm convinced that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back next year. Like, whoever the Steelers draft at quarterback, I do not think is seeing the field next year, and barring an injury, obviously. But, like, I think that Lenore Sellers sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for a year, I'm not even saying Aaron Rodgers has to be a great mentor. Just sitting there and watching him at work, watching someone who's been doing this for 2 decades at the highest level, and watching what it looks like to play quarterback and pick up the nuances of the position from Aaron Rodgers could benefit Lenore Sellers greatly, and I think really set his career trajectory on a really good spot. John Mateer is the other guy that I think is in that range, and he is not the same level of athlete. He is still a high-end athlete. He is I wasn't a big Daniel Jones guy coming out of Duke, but
I was not as well. Yeah.
I think he is what people who were into Daniel Jones thought Daniel Jones was. And like, that's kind of how I look at him. Like, there are throws where you're like, oh yeah, that's an NFL caliber arm. And then there are other throws are like, brother, do you need LASIK? Like, what is happening? Like, it's unbelievable. And like, that's been exacerbated over the past 3 weeks because he's got like a club hand right now on his throwing hand and can't throw.
It's not, yeah.
And so, like, I would definitely prefer Sellers to Mateer, but I would also, for the same reasons I'm high on, like, what Sellers could be like sitting behind Rodgers for a year, I think it could also benefit Mateer. I also think there's a chance Mateer goes back to Oklahoma. So I think that could be a moot point at some point.
Yeah, I think it's tough because you look at a lot of the top quarterbacks right now in college football that are eligible to come out, and I think a lot of them go back to school. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Dante Moore wants to come out. I mean, he's obviously had a great season, but this is his first year, like, full-time in a big program, starting and actually playing well.
Yeah.
So, and he has plenty of years of eligibility. I think Mendoza comes out because he's going to be the guy that, like, gets the most out of this.
And he also has 3 years of starting experience.
He does,
too.
Yeah. He doesn't have as much to learn at this point. I think he's done enough. Sellers, man, I really think he has to go back to school. And specifically, I think he should transfer to another program.
Well,
I really
if Shane Beamer takes the Virginia Tech job, that sounds great.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that could work.
I think, for sure, I think he should do that. He can't manage the pocket right now. It's so clear that he's not an NFL pocket passer.
I am interested to see over the last month of the regular season, South Carolina fired their offensive coordinator.
They did, yeah.
And Sellers looked like he had taken a step back from what we saw at the end of last year, and I'm hopeful that we'll see some more positive signs from Sellers. I still don't disagree with you that it's still probably in his best interest to return.
Yeah.
But to your point, if let's say Mateer and Dante Moore Jr. both would like to return as well,
right?
It might be advantageous financially for Sellers to enter the NFL draft.
It might. I think it just depends on, like, again, what grade is he getting from the NFL committee? Because, like, I think he's going to submit, I think, at least to find out, like, where he stands.
Yeah,
with NFL
100%.
circles. If they give him a day one grade, then he's going to come out. Like, because at that point, he's probably hoping, like,
why not?
Yeah, maybe I go to a team that doesn't need me to play right away anyway. I get to sit for a year. Maybe a team like the Rams would kind of be the dream, I think, where they have 2 first-round picks. They could probably make something happen with that. But if enough guys come out, or if the NFL is basically telling, like, dude, Anthony Richardson just happened, we're not doing this right now. Like, if what happens, I think he goes to another school most likely, or at least hopefully South Carolina can bring in a little bit more talent and coaching around him. Mateer's a tough one for me because coming into the year, I was really excited to see him in Oklahoma's offense because I watched a lot of him at Washington State. Yeah. And kind of to your point, and I know that right now it's a little iffy because of the hand injury, I just don't know if he has an NFL arm consistently. I just don't know. And when a guy is in that category, I'm like, I'm kind of out on you until you prove it otherwise. And it sucks because I hate to be that guy, but, like, also, like, I've seen Tua. I've seen Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Even at
We've been
times,
through
he's
this
been
many
like
a time.
there's just limitations with guys like that. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
he has like a Tua arm necessarily, by any means,
No.
but it is just a question with him, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough for the quarterbacks this year. It really is.
Yeah. Well,
and like there's definitely a chance that, but like it's such a catch-22 for the Steelers though, because like, do you like, you know, when you finally move on from Rodgers, like what's the plan? Like, how are you doing this? Because as long as you have Rodgers, as long as you have Rodgers in the building, there's a baseline of competence. There's a baseline of competence that's going to put you out of the range for the top guys. And then, as we've already discussed, like the Steelers are not going to trade up like aggressively to go get a guy. Like they're not going to trade up to try to get in the range for a Simpson or a Mendoza. Like I just don't see that happening.
No, me either. I even if they want to, I just don't think that they're in position to do that if they want to. Like again, there's teams like the Rams have 2 first-round picks where if they decide like, hey, this was great with Stafford this year, but at least, you know, maybe past 2026 we need something to be ready to go. They could be a team that can do that. There's other teams that are going to be picking higher than this team that probably will just take quarterbacks naturally where they're sitting in the draft. It's going to come down to like how much do they like QB 4 and 5? Like that's really what, and that's the problem when you do that. You're like, I don't know, man. Like if you're taking a guy because he's there, you end up in the Kenny Pickett situation, or it's he's the best one theoretically.
Well, as long as he doesn't have a 3rd round grade, I feel
it's like
a little better.
You know, I don't know.
Follow up: do you feel confident that even if they got the right QB, that this is the right coaching staff to handle it? I think that's what I wanted to get to all like along, I think here, which will, without getting too far ahead, we can kind of end with. Do you trust this coaching staff to handle the right quarterback, even if it were the right pick?
Shane, I'll let you answer that first.
I'm going to go ahead and say no on that one. I think Arthur Smith has done a good overall job this year, especially trying to cater to what Rodgers likes to do and trying to do what he likes to do, which is find the biggest person he can find on the field and throw him the football, which, to be fair, has worked out kind of for the most part this year, but whatever. In general, I don't really trust this coaching staff to develop talent in general. For the most part, like a lot of their success obviously has come from like, TJ Watt's one of the best players in the sport for like a decade. Cam Hayward gets better as he gets older for some reason that no one can seem to figure out. Let's just add 7 30-year-old defensive backs and hope that works. Like it's not a lot of developing going on a lot of the time, it feels like. And for the quarterback, obviously, too, like the biggest thing is, do you have a play caller in place that you feel can play a game that can get that guy up to speed quickly and make him comfortable? I don't know with Arthur Smith because his offense isn't hard to run, but it also isn't very high. Like there's not a lot of explosiveness built into it naturally, right? They're not trying to get chunk plays a lot of the time. And that's really helpful for a young quarterback if you can manufacture chunk plays where he doesn't have to go 10, 12, 15 plays and play good that whole time, because it's just hard to do that in the NFL, even if you're good. Especially it just is. And I think he's not the best guy to be developing a young quarterback, but to be fair, he's the best they've had in a long time. So it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to really feel about it. So.
Yeah, I share a lot of those sentiments, especially, and like, he's a horrible player and not the same level of prospects that these guys are. But I think back to watching Arthur Smith try to do anything with Desmond Ridder at quarterback in Atlanta. And like, I don't think Desmond Ridder would have been anything regardless. Like, I'm not trying to make that case.
Right.
But I also think
Arthur Smith said that first.
Yeah, definitely lead with that.
But I also think Arthur Smith made life even harder with how he was trying to coach and develop Desmond Ridder. And like, that does not give me a great deal of confidence, especially when we're talking about the 2 prospects that we're talking about here, both of whose biggest strength right now might be their mobility.
Yeah.
That does not make me feel great while having seen what he tried to do with a mobile quarterback previously.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
Yeah, I think I'm with both of you there. I just I don't think Kenny Pickett had the talent to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, so I'm not going to make that case. However,
bold claim, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Yeah, going out on a limb there.
Yeah, brave take on
Yeah, very brave.
Let me attach a safety harness to you.
Yeah,
with the limiter
seriously,
out on
man.
there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Hey, man, I live in pit territory. You never know who's coming after me. But
This is fair.
but like Mike Tomlin and their entire coaching staff didn't do him any favors, and I don't think their current coaching staff would do a new quarterback many favors either. And I don't think that's a shot at Arthur Smith. Really, I like what Arthur Smith is kind of doing, but I think just like their overall. Yeah, I struggle to see any player really I guess develop under this coaching staff. And I mentioned to Cody earlier that I feel like the Steelers draft players for what they are, not what they can be. And that's not universal. I mean, there are obviously some players who have developed under this coaching staff. I'm not trying to say that there aren't, but yeah, there's a lot of them who have just been drafted for like, oh, this is a fit right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how you're supposed to do it.
You're
right?
not. You're
Especially
really
a quarterback.
not.
That's not how you're supposed to do it. At quarterback, you're supposed to do kind of the opposite. It's like, what can this quarterback become, and how can we put him in the best situation over time? And how can we surround him with the right people? And I don't see that with this team right now. So I want them to get a quarterback, but I'm also terrified of what will happen when they get their next quarterback, because they're going to devote like 3 to 5 years to this dude, and I don't really know how that's going to go. So we are way down the line here, considering they beat the Colts today. So
yeah, it's a good Sunday. Y'all should be happy.
Good Sunday.
Let's not take down the vibes too down.
Yeah. I'm not going to take the vibes down too much. Do we have any just parting thoughts on the game? Shane wasn't here for most of it, so I want to let him just kind of open us up here.
6 turnovers is really cool. Probably
Damn
not
right.
going to happen a lot, though. So you guys might want to figure out other ways to win the game. Again,
not going to happen a lot.
Like, this is also the team that had 5 turnovers forced against the Patriots earlier this year. So I guess maybe I'm the dumb one in this situation. But 6 turnovers feels like a lot to get. Maybe I'd have to look at historical numbers, but I'm going to assume that's happened not many times. Yeah. They have to figure out a way to play better coverage, especially on there's so many cover 2 hole shots. And I'm like, guys, it's coming. Can we do something? I think they made one good play on it, late in the game on Pittman. Outside of that, when they had that look, it was money. And I'm like,
Pierce was tearing them up on that.
I'm like, all right, man, what's going on. I just don't know. That they did play less single high too, which thank God. We cannot play single high with this defense. I'm sorry. You can't. You got to do something else. So overall, though, you love the win. We'll see if the offense can play a little bit better next week, because they're probably going to have to against the Chargers. This week, they got this week off. I'll give them that. They did not have to do a whole lot this time, but next week, probably not the case.
Hey, I don't know. Herbert threw a game-opening pick 6 against the Titans today. So, maybe 6 turnovers are going back to back.
It could happen. It could happen. Cody, closing thoughts.
Like I said at the top, man, I'm not full-blown the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl or anything, but I do this game made me think differently about the Steelers, because we haven't seen this from the defense. And I think that, to your point, Shane, yes, the coverage, there needs to be smarter schematics there. But I also think that if the pass rush plays like this, the coverage is that helps the coverage a whole hell of a lot.
It for years before this. They just weren't getting that this year.
Yeah,
exactly. And so as long as TJ Watt is done with his disappearing act, if you can get the same the same contributions from Hayward and Highsmith week in and week out, and to y'all's point, using Herbig a little more to help amplify that as well, maybe the coverage unit isn't asked to do as much as it has been.
Yeah, I will close with this. Felt like the Alex Highsmith game. I was waiting for a little more from him. He had 2 sacks. I'm not a PFF loyalist by any means. If anything, I'm the opposite. I have written columns about the opposite.
That's correct. I can fact check that. He definitely has.
He had the highest coverage grade for any player on this defense. Obviously that could change, but he had the based on their revisions, but real time highest coverage grade, 2 sacks. Honestly, just a really nice performance from him, and I just want to shout that out to just end us on something good. And it was nice seeing Ramsey in safety and seeing.
He should just stay there, by the way.
Yeah. It's nice seeing this defense make some schematic adjustments, because we've been calling for that for a long time, and there's still more to do. There's a lot more work to do, but this was a step in the right direction, which I've been waiting for like 3 or 4 weeks. So with that, I am Mark Powell. This is Cody Williams. We got Shane Kubas here. We will have Josh Urish back at on Monday for his deep dive, and we will have Tommy and Shane, I believe, back on Wednesday. Correct?
Yep, our show Wednesday at 1:30, where we'll recap this game, talk about next week's game, all that good stuff. I'll probably tell Darius Slay to retire 4 different times in that episode. Stuff like that. That's what you can look forward to on Wednesday.
We love to hear it. We love to hear it. So yeah, that's what we have to look forward to. I'm Mark Powell. I'll be back next Sunday for our follow to that game as well. So nice to see y'all, and let's go Steeler Nation. All right.